There's a moment in your life when you look around and finally admit something you've been avoiding for years. You're not lacking potential. You're lacking movement. You know exactly what needs to be done. You know the habits you should build, the conversations you should have, the steps you should take, the work you should finally start. And yet, you don't move. You wait. You hesitate. You negotiate with yourself. You carry dreams like heavy luggage, dragging them from year to year, hoping you'll magically feel ready one day. But readiness never comes. And deep inside, you feel the weight of every single moment you've let slip through your hands. This audiobook exists to break that pattern. Because the truth is brutally simple. Motivation is not coming to save you. Discipline is what will change your life. Welcome to Force Yourself to Take Action, a full cinematic journey into the psychology, emotion, and discipline behind doing what must be done, even when you don't feel like doing anything at all. In the next hour, you will learn why waiting for motivation is the biggest trap of your life, how to take action in the first 5 seconds before your brain sabotages you, how to break the loop of overthinking and hesitation, how to build a mind that acts instead of reacts, how to become the kind of person who does what they say, how to use discomfort as a tool, how winners develop unstoppable consistency, and how to rebuild trust in yourself through follow-through. This is not going to be soft, gentle, or comfortable. This is an audiobook about confronting yourself with honesty, about sitting with the truth of your habits, about sacrificing excuses, about disciplining the voice inside you that keeps pulling you backward. If you're listening right now, you already know something needs to change. You're tired of waiting, tired of planning, tired of promising yourself you'll start tomorrow, tired of knowing you're capable of more, but doing less. So let's start with the punchline that defines this entire audiobook. Nothing changes until you move. Not next week. Not when you feel confident. Not when life gets easier. Not when fear disappears. It begins the moment you stop negotiating with your own potential. Because inside every person, there are 2 voices. One that wants comfort, and one that wants growth. Comfort is easy. Comfort is familiar. Comfort is seductive. But comfort is also the silent assassin of every goal you've ever had. Growth? Growth is uncomfortable. Growth requires confrontation. Growth demands effort before reward. And growth begins the moment you force yourself into action. Let's frame this entire audiobook clearly. Right now. This is not motivation. This is training. Training your mind. Training your discipline. Training your identity into someone who acts instead of someone who waits. Across 10 chapters, we're going to reconstruct the way you think, the way you decide, the way you move. Here's your roadmap. Chapter 1. Stop lying to yourself. Chapter 2. Action before emotion. Chapter 3. Break the overthinking loop. Chapter 4. Acting before you feel ready. Chapter 5. Deadlines over dreams. Chapter 6. The power of immediate follow-through. Chapter 7. Building iron discipline. Chapter 8. The environment of winners. Chapter 9. Using pain as propulsion. Chapter 10. Becoming unstoppable. Each chapter pulls you deeper into the psychology of discipline, each one stripping away another layer of hesitation, each one shifting your identity from someone who waits to someone who moves. Consider this your wake-up call. The version of you who's been sleeping behind excuses for years is about to be confronted. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Stop lying to yourself. Every breakthrough begins with a moment of truth, not inspiration. Not motivation, truth. The truth that you have been delaying the life you want. The truth that you have been holding yourself back. The truth that you already know what to do, but refuse to do it. And if that truth stings, good. It means you're ready to grow. Because here's the most uncomfortable part. Your life is not stuck because you're unlucky. Your life is stuck because you've been choosing what is easy over what is necessary. You've been choosing scrolling over starting, choosing thinking over doing, choosing later over now, choosing moods over movement. And every time you do that, you reinforce the identity of someone who can't trust themselves. And that's the real pain beneath your frustration. Not the lack of progress, but the lack of self-respect that comes from breaking promises to yourself. But today, that cycle ends. Because when you stop lying to yourself, when you stop pretending you need more time, more motivation, more clarity, you finally face the truth. You don't have a motivation problem. You have a decision problem. And the moment you decide, truly decide, that you will no longer wait for the perfect mood, your entire life reframes itself around action. This is the beginning of discipline. This is the beginning of a new identity. This is the beginning of you becoming someone you can trust again. But decision alone is not enough. Now you must understand the mechanics behind action, the psychology that determines whether you rise or retreat. Chapter 2. Action before emotion. There is a lie you've been taught your entire life. A lie that has quietly stolen your time, your ambition, and your potential. The lie is this: you must feel ready before you act. But readiness is a myth. It's an emotional illusion, a mirage created by your mind to keep you safe, small, and stagnant. Because your brain is hardwired for survival, not progress. It wants comfort, it wants predictability, it wants certainty, it wants the familiar, even if the familiar is destroying your future. So when you wait to feel ready, you hand your life over to the most fearful, cautious part of your mind. But here is the truth champions live by. You act before you feel like acting. Winners don't wait for motivation, they manufacture momentum. They don't wait for clarity. They create clarity through action. They don't wait for confidence. They build confidence through repetition. Action comes first, emotion comes second. Not the other way around. If you reverse this order, you stay stuck forever. Think about the moments in your life when you actually achieved something meaningful. You didn't feel ready the first time you went to the gym. You didn't feel ready the first time you started your career. You didn't feel ready the first time you stepped into discomfort. You acted anyway. And after you acted, something shifted internally. Courage grew, energy rose, momentum formed, because movement creates emotion, movement generates motivation. Movement dissolves fear, movement rewires identity. You don't wait to feel ready. You move until you feel ready. This is the psychology of doers. This is the wiring of achievers. This is the identity of winners. And now, you're stepping into that identity. So ask yourself right now, how many things in your life have been delayed simply because you waited for the perfect emotional state? How many opportunities slipped past you? How many ideas stayed trapped in your mind? How many goals died in the graveyard of hesitation? It's not because you weren't capable. It's because you handed your power to a feeling. But feelings are temporary. Action is transformative. So here is your first internal shift. Stop acting based on how you feel. Start acting based on who you want to become. Because the difference between your current life and your potential life has nothing to do with talent, luck, or intelligence. It has everything to do with one question. Do you move when you don't feel like moving? The moment you can say yes, your life changes. But there's a force that stops most people right before they take action. A force far more dangerous than laziness. Overthinking, and it's time to break that cycle forever. Welcome to Chapter 3. Dear viewer, please write in the comments what interested you most in the video. This will help us improve our videos. Chapter 3. Break the overthinking loop. Let's be brutally honest. You don't need more time. You don't need more information. You don't need more inspiration. You need less thinking and more doing. Overthinking convinces you that you are being productive. But in reality, it is the most sophisticated form of procrastination. Overthinking is hesitation in disguise. It's fear wearing the mask of logic. It's your brain pretending to plan while secretly stalling. And the longer you think, the heavier the task becomes. Your mind starts creating imaginary obstacles. What if it doesn't work? What if I embarrass myself? What if I fail again? What if I'm not ready? What if people judge me? Notice something. Overthinking is never about thinking things through. It's about thinking yourself out of action. Your brain is trying to protect you from discomfort, but in doing so, it's protecting you from growth. Here's the truth you must internalize. Overthinking is the enemy of execution. Execution is the enemy of overthinking. You cannot think your way forward. You can only act your way forward. So how do you break the overthinking loop? With speed, with decisiveness, with a rule that changes everything, the 5-second rule of action. When you have an impulse to act, to send the message, make the call, start the task, get up, begin working, you count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, move. Why does this work? Because hesitation lives in the space between the impulse and the action. The longer you wait, the louder the doubt becomes. The louder the fear becomes, the louder the excuses become. But when you act quickly, you bypass the part of your brain that tries to stop you. You cut the cord between intention and sabotage. This technique is simple, powerful, and life-changing. Use it for getting out of bed, starting a workout, beginning a project, making a decision, breaking a bad habit, starting a good habit, ending procrastination, taking control back 5 seconds. That's all you need. Because once you move, your brain must follow. Movement breaks fear. Movement kills hesitation. Movement destroys doubt. Movement builds confidence. Movement creates identity. Your mind learns from your actions. I act fast. I follow through. I move. I don't wait. This is the identity of an action taker. This is the blueprint for discipline. This is how you rebuild the trust you lost with yourself. But before you can fully step into that identity, you must confront another myth, the myth of readiness. Because deep down, you still believe you need to prepare more, plan more, or feel more confident. But you don't. You just need to start. And that's where Chapter 4 takes you. Because the next chapter is where you step into the truth that shatters every excuse. You will never feel ready. And that's exactly why you must begin. Chapter 4. Acting before you feel ready. Let's cut straight to the truth. You're not stuck because you're unprepared. You're stuck because you've convinced yourself preparation must come before action. But preparation is a trap, a comfortable delay. A safe excuse disguised as being responsible. You tell yourself you need to learn more, research more, organize more, wait for a better time, think it through again. But deep down, you know the truth. You're not preparing. You're stalling. And that stall is costing you the life you could be living. Here's something most people never admit. Feeling ready is a luxury. Acting anyway is a superpower. The people you admire didn't wait for the perfect moment. They started when things were messy. They started when they felt unsure. They started when they had fear in their throat and doubt in their stomach. They didn't act because they felt confident. They acted and built confidence along the way. Confidence is not a prerequisite. Confidence is a side effect. You earn it, you build it, you create it through action, not contemplation. But let's address something deeper, something most people never say out loud. The real reason you don't start is not fear of failure. It's fear of exposure, fear of being seen trying, fear of not being good enough at the beginning, fear of judgment, fear of vulnerability. Because starting means admitting you're a beginner, and the ego hates that. But here's your liberation. Every master was once a beginner. Every expert was once clueless. Every legend started as an amateur. The only difference between you and them is that they began. They acted before they felt ready, because they understood something you must now learn. Readiness is a feeling you earn by stepping into discomfort. You cannot wait your way into readiness. You must move your way into readiness. The first step always feels shaky. The second step feels slightly less terrifying. By the 10th step, you're in motion, and momentum does the rest. Think about the last time you finally started something you'd been avoiding. Maybe a workout, a difficult conversation, a long overdue task, a project you kept postponing. Was the beginning uncomfortable? Of course. But did it get easier once you started? Always. So here's your new rule. If you don't feel ready, start anyway. If your mind resists, start anyway. If you're scared, start anyway. Because nothing in your life changes until you change how you start. And how you start becomes who you become. Now let's step into the next evolution of your discipline, the difference between people who dream and people who deliver. Welcome to Chapter 5. Chapter 5. Deadlines over dreams. Dreams are beautiful. Dreams are inspiring. Dreams are the spark. But dreams without deadlines? They are the slowest poison. A dream without a deadline becomes a fantasy. A fantasy becomes a distraction. A distraction becomes avoidance. And avoidance becomes regret. The world is full of people with dreams. But the world is changed by those who set deadlines. Deadlines turn wishes into obligations. Deadlines turn intentions into action. Deadlines turn someday into right now. Because structure is not the enemy of creativity. It is the engine of progress. Let's be real. You've made promises to yourself that you never kept. I'll start next week. I'll begin when things calm down. I'll work on it when I have more time. But time isn't the problem. Discipline is the problem. Accountability is the problem. Follow-through is the problem. The solution? Deadlines. True deadlines. Non-negotiable deadlines. Deadlines you treat like commitments you would never break with someone else. Because here's the truth. You keep everyone's deadlines, except your own. You show up for people. You show up for your job. You show up for obligations. But you don't show up for yourself. And that's the wound we're healing in this chapter. Here's how winners do it. 1. They break big goals into measurable steps. Not vague ambitions, not get in shape, but work out 30 minutes daily for 30 days. 2. They attach a deadline to every step. Not, I'll do it soon, but I'll finish this task by Thursday at 6 p.m. 3. They make deadlines visible. On paper, on a wall, on a screen, every day. 4. They track their follow-through like their life depends on it. Because their future does. 5. They hold themselves to the same standard they hold others. No excuses, no exceptions. A goal says, this is what I want. A deadline says, this is what I'm doing. If you don't discipline your deadlines, your dream becomes a dream you'll die with. And here's the truth that stings the most. You're not tired of the work. You're tired of breaking promises to yourself. But that stops now. Because once you integrate deadlines with action, you enter a new realm of personal power, the power of immediate follow-through, the power that turns discipline into identity. Welcome to Chapter 6. Friend, write your opinion on this topic in the comments. Do you agree with us or not? I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Chapter 6. The power of immediate follow-through. Let's talk about one of the most important traits of high performers. One skill that instantly separates doers from dreamers, achievers from talkers, leaders from followers. Immediate follow-through. Meaning, the moment you decide, you act. The moment you commit, you move. The moment you say you will, you do. No delay. No hesitation, no mental bargaining, no emotional negotiation. Because here's what most people do. They make decisions emotionally, but follow through inconsistently. They get a spark of motivation and then wait. They get an idea and then wait. They feel the urge to start and then wait. But winners eliminate the gap between intention and execution. They shrink the delay. They reduce the hesitation. They remove the internal debate. Why? Because they know the gap kills progress. The longer you wait, the colder your ambition becomes. The longer you wait, the heavier the task becomes. The longer you wait, the louder your excuses become. Immediate follow-through does something powerful. It forces your brain to adapt to your decisions. It reinforces the identity of consistency. It builds trust with yourself through repetition. It rewires your mind for action. Every time you follow through immediately, you send a message to your subconscious. I am someone who does what I say. That message is everything. That message is the foundation of self-respect. It's the root of discipline. It's the origin of confidence. Confidence isn't built on compliments or achievements. It's built on knowing you can rely on yourself. Every action taken quickly strengthens that reliability. Every delay weakens it. So let me ask you something. How much stronger would your life become if you acted the moment you decided? How many goals would already be achieved? How much momentum would you already have? How much discipline would already be in your bones? This chapter is your invitation to become that kind of person. The kind who acts without waiting. The kind who moves without hesitation. The kind who follows through without excuses. Because once immediate follow-through becomes your default, you unlock the ability that defines unstoppable people. Iron discipline. That's where we're headed next. And the next chapter is where you learn to build discipline that doesn't bend, doesn't break, and doesn't wait for motivation to appear. Chapter 7. Building iron discipline. Discipline is not a trait you're born with. It's not something gifted, inherited, or granted by luck. Discipline is built, constructed, forged, earned. And most importantly, discipline is built in the moments no one sees. Not when you feel inspired. Not when you feel motivated. Not when the path feels light and easy. Discipline is born in the darkness, in the quiet, in the early mornings and late nights, in the moments when you want to stop, but don't, in the moments when your emotions say no and your commitment says, do it anyway. Let's dismantle a myth right now. You don't need to enjoy the work, you need to do the work. Winners don't wake up overflowing with motivation, they wake up overflowing with responsibility. They don't act because they feel like acting, they act because they said they would. That is the core of discipline, keeping your promises long after the excitement has died. Discipline is the art of choosing long-term gain over short-term comfort, over and over, relentlessly. But to build iron discipline, you must understand this. Discipline is not emotional. It is structural. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. So let's talk systems. Let's break down the architecture of unshakable discipline. System 1. Non-negotiables. A non-negotiable is a rule you do not break. Ever. Not because it's easy, but because breaking it breaks you. One small non-negotiable has more power than 50 half-hearted intentions. Examples. I work out every morning at 7 a.m. I write for 10 minutes daily, no matter what. I follow through on every task I schedule. I speak to myself with discipline, not excuses. These rules become the bones of your new identity. System 2. Environment engineering. Your environment is your silent dictator. It influences you more than motivation ever will. If your environment is full of distractions, you'll indulge in distractions. If it's designed for action, you'll act. Winners don't rely on willpower. They sculpt their surroundings. They remove distractions. They add friction to bad habits. They add ease to good habits. They build spaces that reinforce their goals, not sabotage them. System 3. Identity reinforcement. Every disciplined action reinforces a message to your subconscious. I'm the kind of person who shows up. This message compounds, deepens, sinks into your bones. Discipline is not built from one big effort. It's built from hundreds of small, consistent ones that reshape who you believe you are. System 4. Micro-commitments. The smaller the task, the easier it is to start. And once you start, you often keep going. This is why disciplined people break tasks into small pieces, not to do less, but to ensure they begin. System 5. Accountability. Listen carefully. Accountability is the antidote to inconsistency. Discipline thrives when someone or something is watching, even if that someone is your future self. Track your progress, review your habits, measure your follow-through. Create consequences for breaking your rules. Create rewards for upholding them. This is how iron discipline is forged, not through feeling, but through structure. Because discipline is not about pushing through occasionally. It's about building a life where taking action is the norm, not the exception. But even with discipline, there's another force you must master. A force more powerful than motivation, more contagious than effort, more transformative than mindset alone. Your environment. The people you surround yourself with will either elevate you or drain you. They will sharpen you or sabotage you. They will push you or pull you backward. And that is why Chapter 8 is essential. Welcome to the Circle of Winners. Chapter 8. The Environment of Winners. Look around your life. Look at the 5 people you interact with the most. Now ask yourself one question. Are these people pulling me forward or holding me down? Because whether you realize it or not, you are becoming them. Their habits become your habits. Their language becomes your language. Their standards become your standards. Their excuses become your excuses. Their discipline becomes your discipline, or their lack of it becomes yours. This isn't poetic. This is psychology. Humans adapt. Humans absorb. Humans mirror their environment. So if you surround yourself with procrastinators, you learn to procrastinate. If you surround yourself with complainers, you learn to complain. If you surround yourself with people who avoid discomfort, you learn to avoid discomfort too. But something extraordinary happens when you surround yourself with winners. You begin to rise, not because they push you, but because their energy makes your excuses feel embarrassing. Winners don't glorify laziness. They don't romanticize procrastination. They don't admire comfort. They don't celebrate mediocrity. Their presence forces you to level up. Their conversations expand your thinking. Their habits challenge your standards. Their ambition triggers your potential. There's a quote you must memorize. Your environment is the thermostat of your future. If your environment stays cold, your ambition freezes. If it stays warm, your growth heats up. So here's what you must do. 1. Audit your circle. Not with judgment, but with honesty. Who drains your focus? Who makes you smaller? Who feeds your excuses? Who keeps you stagnant? Now the harder question, who around you makes taking action feel normal? Those are the people you keep close. 2. Add winners to your world. Winners don't always show up in person. They show up in books, podcasts, videos, mentors, communities. Expose yourself to their standards. Your mind adjusts to whatever it consumes consistently. 3. Reduce the noise. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone should influence your decisions. Not everyone should shape your energy. You are responsible for protecting your focus. 4. Build an identity circle. Surround yourself with people who live the identity you want. Disciplined people, driven people, focused people, people who act, people who demand excellence from themselves. When your environment is full of action takers, taking action becomes your baseline, not your struggle. And once your environment supports your discipline, once your discipline supports your identity, and once your identity supports your goals, you become unstoppable. But before you step into that, there's another force you must learn to master. A force most people run from, hide from, and try to numb. Pain. Pain can break you, but it can also remake you. And in Chapter 9, you will learn how to turn pain into one of the greatest sources of power in your entire life. Chapter 9. Using pain as propulsion. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is not an obstacle. Pain is not a punishment. Pain is a messenger, a teacher, a catalyst. Every time pain shows up in your life, it asks you the same question. What are you going to do with me? Most people run from pain. They numb it. They distract themselves. They complain about it. They avoid it at all costs. But high achievers, those who build momentum, discipline, and unstoppable progress, they treat pain differently. They listen to it. They learn from it. They use it. Because buried inside every painful moment is a truth designed to move you forward. The pain of regret shows you what you refuse to repeat. The pain of failure shows you what must be improved. The pain of frustration shows you where you're still growing. The pain of disappointment reveals where your standards need to rise. The pain of discomfort shows you where transformation is beginning. Pain is the signal that whispers, you are on the edge of becoming someone new. But you must stop seeing pain as an enemy and start seeing it as energy. Let me ask you something. What hurts right now? What stings? What keeps you awake at night? What frustrates you about yourself? What part of your life feels heavy? That feeling, that ache, is power waiting to be redirected. Pain can push you into self-destruction or launch you into discipline. The choice depends on how you interpret it. If you see pain as a personal attack, it weakens you. If you see pain as a challenge, it strengthens you. Every powerful transformation begins with a moment of discomfort. Every new chapter is preceded by a moment of pain. Every evolution begins with something breaking. Not to destroy you, but to rebuild you. Think about the most defining moments of your life. Were they comfortable? Were they easy? Did they feel peaceful? Or did they come with pressure, discomfort, and difficulty? The truth is simple. Comfort preserves who you are. Pain reveals who you can become. Pressure creates diamonds. Heat forges steel. Resistance builds muscle. Challenges build character. Your life is no different. But here's the part most people never learn. Pain becomes powerful only when you assign it to a purpose. If you don't give your pain direction, it turns into suffering. If you give your pain meaning, it turns into fuel. So take your pain and aim it. Let the regret push you into change. Let the frustration push you into action. Let the disappointment push you into discipline. Let the hurt push you into becoming stronger, wiser, sharper. Because somewhere inside that pain is a version of you that refuses to quit. And that's the version we're unlocking. Pain breaks you open. So discipline can rebuild you stronger. But pain alone isn't enough. There is another force. One you must master. One that champions use to create unstoppable momentum. The ability to sustain action long after the excitement fades. And that takes us into the final stage of this audiobook. The stage where everything comes together. The stage where you stop being someone who tries and become someone who does. And if this audiobook resonated with you, if it lit something inside you, if it woke something up, if it pushed you, challenged you, or sharpened you, hit like right now as a personal contract with your future self. Share in the comments the line that hit you the hardest. Speak it into existence. Subscribe if you want to stay consistent with this journey of discipline, self-mastery, and action. And share this audiobook with someone who needs it, someone who is on the edge of becoming unstoppable. Because the world changes when people stop waiting and start acting. Now take one final breath and let this truth settle deep into your identity. You don't move because you feel strong. You feel strong because you move. Go, act, build, become. Your unstoppable self begins now.